Hello everyone. Today I'm going to deal with law of diminishing marginal utility. So before starting with the law of diminishing marginal utility, let me give you the meaning of utility, total utility and marginal utility. Utility is the want satisfying capacity of a commodity. Total utility is the utility derived by a consumer by consuming all the units of a commodity. Marginal utility is the extra utility or the additional utility derived by a consumer by consuming additional or extra unit of the same commodity. Law of diminishing marginal utility was first explained by a German economist, Professor H. Gaussen, in the year 1854. According to Professor H. Gaussen, the law of diminishing marginal utility states that the utility derived from each successive unit of a commodity decreases. That is, as a consumer consumes more and more units of the same commodity, the extra utility derived from the consumption of extra unit of a commodity decreases. Later, the law of diminishing marginal utility was propagated and popularized by a British economist, Professor Alfred Marshall, a founder of neoclassical school of thought. According to Professor Alfred Marshall, the additional benefit which a person derives from a given increase of a stock of a thing diminishes with every increase in the stock that he already has, which means, as in how a person goes on increasing the consumption of a commodity, every increased unit of a commodity results in decrease in the utility. Now let us move on to the assumptions of law of diminishing marginal utility. The first assumption, rational consumer. A consumer wants to achieve maximum satisfaction from the commodity consumed. Second assumption, independent utility. Each commodity has its own utility and it is assumed that only one product is consumed at a time. Third assumption, same quality. The commodity consumed must be of uniform quality throughout the process of consumption. Fourth assumption, standard quantity. The commodity must not differ in size, proportion or quantity for that matter. Fifth assumption, continuous consumption. The commodity must be consumed one after the other at the same time without any interval. Sixth assumption, cardinal measurement. It is assumed that the utility of commodity can be measured quantitatively, that is in terms of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Seventh assumption, constant marginal utility of money. It is assumed that the marginal utility of money spent on the commodity is consistent throughout the process. Eighth assumption, fixed income and price. It is believed that the income level of the consumer remains constant and even the price of the commodity does not change. Now let us take an example. Suppose Mr. X is hungry and he decides to consume 5 apples. The first apple he consumes gives him more utility because he is hungry. When he consumes second apple, he gets less utility comparatively because he is not hungry. When he forces himself for third and fourth apple, he is exhausted and he reaches the level of saturation, as a result of which he starts hating every bite of fifth apple instead of enjoying it, and finally marginal utility becomes 0 and then it becomes negative. Now let us try and understand the law of diminishing marginal utility with the help of table and diagram. It is clear from the table and the graph that as a consumer consumes the commodity continuously, the marginal utility decreases and it reaches 0. 0 is the point of saturation where the consumer gets exhausted from the consumption of apples. Finally, marginal utility becomes negative, whereas total utility increases at a decreasing rate and finally decreases. In the diagram, x-axis, a horizontal line, measures number of apples consumed. Y-axis, a vertical line, measures total utility and marginal utility. The total utility curve slopes upwards and it is a positive sloping curve, whereas marginal utility curve is a downward sloping curve or a negative sloping curve. Now let us move on to the exceptions of law of diminishing marginal utility. The law of diminishing marginal utility does not hold good under following condition. First is marginal utility of money, which never decreases. As a person have more and more money, he gets more and more satisfaction. Second, in case of rare or antique collection, the law does not apply. Law of diminishing marginal does not apply to a person with abnormal state of mind. Law does not apply if it is a habitual or addictive goods like alcohol or cigarette, tea, coffee, or for anything for that matter. It does not apply in case of expensive and durable goods, and if it is inhomogeneous unit of commodity or unequal amount of consumption. The law does not apply if a consumer's taste, preference, or income changes, and the law does not apply if the consumption is not continuous. So under following circumstances, the law does not hold good. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for further notifications.